Good evening, and welcome to the meeting for the Richmond and Power and Light for Monday, February 5th, 2024. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Doug Goss,
Here.
Lucinda Wright,
Present.
Bill Engel,
Here.
Larry Parker,
Here.
Ann Taylor,
Here.
Gary Turner,
Here.
Justin Burkhart,
Here.
Jerry Purcell,
Here.
and Jane Bumbelow.
Here.
All are present.
All right, we have approval of the minutes. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have bills to be approved.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Finance Committee reviewed the bills and are in favor of passing the bills in the amount of $9,566,241.32.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mind me a
All
blank.
in favor.
All in favor? Say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Boy, that was a tongue twister. Okay. We have remarks by the chairman. I don't have any remarks. Next, we have any unfinished business. No unfinished business. Next, we have report by the general manager.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening,
evening.
Tony.
First item on the agenda under my report tonight is a request to award the bid on a new 2024 bucket truck on a 550 or 5000 series chassis for the Parallax department at RP&L. We received one bid, and it was from Global Rental Company. This is a division of Altech. So the reason it wasn't from Altech Direct is the Global Rental Company gets a number of these, I guess you could call them stock unit trucks. They don't have any customization done, and then they rent them out. Well, due to the current state of affairs in the world, when it's still very difficult for us to get vehicles and things, they have been selling these and not putting them into the rental fleet. So this is one that was ordered for the rental fleet that they are going to be able to sell to us. That is why I have in my fourth bullet, we will be able to get this by June 30th of this year. The total bid amount was $161,503. Our budget was $185,000, and we are requesting permission and asking you to award the bid to Global Rental Company, a division of Altech.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The next item on the agenda is a request to receive bids on a new Class 7 Super Duty truck for the line department as previously approved in the capital budget. Our trade is a 2013 Ford F-750 with 51,000 miles and approximately 9,200 engine hours. For the new board members, our rule of thumb is we keep our trucks at least 10 years. Because, once again, because of supply chain issues, we're being told this particular truck is probably going to take 2 to 3 years to manufacture. For most of us, 51,000 miles is a low mileage, but that's 51,000 driving the streets of Richmond and 9,200 hours of idling. If you do a quick Google search, and a conservative estimate on engine hours as compared to miles is approximately 30 miles per engine hour. So the engine hours would relate to about 276,000 miles. And we still have at least 2 to 3 more years to use this vehicle until the new one comes in. So that's why we are requesting to go ahead and get this ordered and to go out for bid. So again, our request this evening is to go out to bid on this vehicle as previously approved in the budget.
So moved.
My car had an engine
Second.
hour monitor. How cool is that?
We have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
The next item in my report is a little bit out of the normal for us. So I have a few slides to talk about this request this evening. Specifically, we're going to talk about some circuit breakers, and not to minimalize things, but the circuit breakers we're talking about function just like the circuit breakers in your house. If the circuit gets overloaded or something trips that circuit, the circuit opens. In the case of your residential circuit breaker, you're able to go to your breaker box, kind of wiggle it, and everything comes back on and life is grand. In our case, it's a little more difficult than that. What we're going to talk about tonight are our 69,000 volt circuit breakers. These are our transmission circuit breakers. We have 7 of this particular model that were installed in the mid-2000s. They were imported from overseas. They were all installed at the same time because they were installed to accommodate load growth at the Highland Road substation and the Johns Manville substation. At the Highland Road substation, that substation was retrofitted because that's when Reed Hospital moved up to its current location on Chester Boulevard. So we have had issues with these particular circuit breakers for the past 5 to 6 years. Specifically, we've had problems with them reclosing. So once they open up, we can't get them to close back in so that energy can flow through them again. We had some pretty big issues in November, so in December, we had a technician visit us to assist us with our issues. He informed us that this model of circuit breaker has been discontinued by the manufacturer. It has some design flaws that cannot be corrected, and replacement parts are no longer being manufactured. Other utilities have had performance issues with this breaker. Most have been taken out of service, and about 50 of them remain in service in the United States. In addition, the gas that is used in this particular type of circuit breaker is called SF6 gas, and it is being banned in many states already. Just last week, the APPA sent out an email to all of its members asking, what their states are doing about SF6 gas, because it apparently is posing an environmental threat. So regardless, at some point, these were going to have to come out of will end up have to come out of commission because of the gas used. The engineering department has looked at options. We found a company in Indianapolis that can rebuild circuit breakers for about $30,000 each. This is a great option for us for our ongoing maintenance, but unfortunately, they cannot or will not refurbish this model, probably because of the issues I just discussed prior. So we expected these to last at least another 5 years. Otherwise, the replacement would have been built into our multi-year capital plan submitted with each budget. So that's why I mentioned that this is a little bit out of ordinary for us. We try to do our very, very best to have a capital plan in place to replace these large ticket capital items. But we're really experiencing some unexpecteds here with these particular models of circuit breakers. So we've looked at replacement options. Couple of options are, we found one company domestically that can provide them to us at $130,000 each with a 2-year lead time. Another option we found was $95,000 each with a 42-week lead time. So option 2 is it's a Hitachi model. It's been manufactured since 2007. It's made in the United States and South Carolina. This is a vacuum-operated circuit breaker, so we won't have to worry about the SF6 gas that's becoming an issue. According to the manufacturer, they have almost 1,300 of them in service nationwide. Locally, Dayton Power and Light has 84 of them in service. Scott Minardi, our chief engineer, did reach out to Dayton Power and Light, and they've had good success with this particular model and didn't report any issues. Some others that are relatively close to us that use these include Georgia Power, Louisville Gas and Electric, and AEP. They all have dozens of this model in service as well. So we would like to order a total of 8, and if we're approved this evening, we would ask the vendor to do our order in batches of 4 for delivery fourth quarter of this year and 4 for delivery in first quarter of 2025. They are guaranteeing the price through March 31st of 2025 with a typical net 30 upon delivery, which is actually kind of nice. Some of these vendors with these large ticket items require 10% upfront and progress payments, but in this case, we don't owe anything until they are actually delivered. And also price guarantees right now. In some instances, a lot of vendors aren't doing that, especially on transformers, because there are just so many unknowns right now. It's nice that they are guaranteeing prices. So probably next question is, well, Tony, how are we going to pay for these? Well, we do have cash reserves and operating cash reserves. But being outside of the budget, just trying to look at some other options. So when we being the board of directors, approved the last cost of service / rate study, for the first time, we created some reserve accounts for future projects. One of those is for the coal combustion residual, or the coal ash project, so there's a reserve account established for that. One for the decommissioning of the generating plant whenever that may occur, so that we started that. Then we also started a miscellaneous substation modification reserve account. And this is taken directly from the IURC order, and granted, I know we're not in the IURC anymore, but we are still following the procedures and the items outlined from that rate study. And basically, it says the parties agree that we will deposit an average of $200,000 into a restricted fund for miscellaneous substation modifications. So as of 12/31 of 2023, we have approximately $610,000 in that fund. We deposit $20,000 a month into that fund. So by the end of this year, we will have $850,000 in that fund. And since this particular issue is out of sync with our budget process, we are requesting permission to place an order for 8 of these circuit breakers. And if they are in fact delivered, some of them delivered in 2024, to use the miscellaneous substation reserve account as the funding source, again, since this is out of sync with our budget process. And I would entertain any questions you might have.
First of all, thank you for being so well prepared for the issues like this that have come up. It looks like about $760,000 for the 8. I have a question about disposal of the others with this SF6 gas. Is there a contingency plan or any idea how they will be disposed of?
We do work with several different environmental groups when it comes to some of our materials, and we would do the same, of course, with disposing of these.
Is there a cost involved in that usually?
Yeah. And when we get to budget time, I'll make sure and point that out to you, but there are environmental services line items in our budget for various things, including this.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do we do the installation with our own personnel, or will the companies that manufacture do that, or will we contract to have it done?
A lot of times we can do these on our own.
Okay.
Sometimes with relays and things, we do bring folks in to help us get those tuned, but we should be able to install these on our own.
Go ahead.
Will the Manville substation be the priority?
Yes.
All right. Has the Finance Committee met and discussed
This is the first time everyone's hearing about this tonight.
Oh,
This has
okay.
kind of happened relatively quickly.
Okay.
Because of the timing, I didn't want to push this off another month to make the
Right.
request, just because it's taken 42 weeks, we would lose 4 weeks.
Okay.
So that's why this all kind of landed in my lap last week.
Yep. Okay.
Madam Chairman, with this being sort of an emergency type thing, I think that it'd behoove us tonight to go ahead and make a motion to go ahead and purchase the first 4 at this time.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Madam Chairman.
Did you need to order all 8? Because that's what you mentioned.
It would be nice if we can order all 8. What we can do is, because we won't take delivery of the second 4 until first quarter, we can build that into next year's capital budget. But in order to maintain this price without price increases, it would be nice to get permission to go ahead and get all 8 on order.
Who's the price?
All
We
eight.
don't.
I'd like to change my motion to all 8 then.
Madam Chairman. Tony, will this solve our problem?
Yes.
Do we have other
We have other transformers that will need work, but what reason we're ordering 8, not 7, we have 7 in service.
Right.
Is that we can place one of these in service and start taking their other ones out, have them rebuilt, and have a rotation from here on out. So we're.
Great. All right, thank
that's the
you.
goal.
Second the updated motion.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the circuit breaker purchase, 8 of them. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you again. That is not typically how we like to do business. Again, we like to plan ahead, but we weren't expecting the news we got in December, and
Yeah.
we need to keep these large customers operational. So
Actually, Tony, you have planned ahead because we can pay for these.
that's,
Yes.
and then finally, I'll give a quick update. I'll do our annual reliability presentation tonight. Customers and site selectors place as much or greater importance on electric reliability as they do the rates, and we work very, very hard on reliability, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that now. So we finished 2023 with a reliability index of 99.9736%. If you look back the last 4 or 5 years, we have been in the 99.9 something range, even preceding 2017, but I didn't want to make the chart really, really big. There are a lot of things that go into reliability that I'll talk about here in a moment. The reason we saw a slight dip in 2023 is largely contributed to the November 7th outage that took out a lot of power for the majority of the city, which rarely happens.
Yeah.
So we just talked about breakers, and this is a timely subject. So how we gauge reliability is by breaker operations. And a breaker operation is not always an outage, but it may be a blink on the system, and we always try to find what caused that. So this chart here outlines the common things that cause breaker operations: squirrels, birds, equipment failure, trees, raccoons. I could have put all the animals in one, but squirrels outnumber everything else. Weather, of course, then unknowns, and then human factors, vehicles. Human error, meaning someone doesn't call before you dig, and they dig into something and trip a circuit breaker. I have fire listed here. We had several breaker operations due to the big fire last year. But we track every one of these, always try to find the source. The unknowns are most likely a tree branch or a squirrel or a raccoon or something. Not to sound morbid, but if we don't find a body, we don't necessarily say it's a squirrel. We say it's an unknown. But believe it or not, our guys go out and do try to find every cause of a breaker operation, so we can improve our reliability and track which circuits are experiencing maybe a more tree-related breaker operations than other circuits, and that's how we know where to focus our tree trim efforts. So in animal contacts, again, touched on that. I outlined a few of our larger issues due to animals last year. One was caused by an owl. It took out 1,400 customers and resulting in over 600,000 lost minutes. We had a squirrel on August 20th that cost us almost 95,000 minutes. And in March, we had another squirrel that cost us 85,000 minutes. So the total number of customers affected by animals last year were 9,490 customers, resulting in a total loss of 846,000 customer minutes. We also have vehicle accidents. Obviously, that's something we cannot predict, but we do have a lot of people that take out poles. This is an older picture, but it is an outage situation was caused by a large truck, and that's kind of what our guys deal with when a car takes out a pole. It's never a pole with just a few wires on it. It usually has telecommunications and everything else on it. So one of our larger outages last year, a semi broke a pole, cost us about 54,000 customer minutes. and another one cost us about 40,000 customer minutes. And of course, there's weather, and you can imagine everything from wind, lightning, ice. One of our larger weather-related outages last year was on March 3rd. Earlier in the day, a semi hit a pole at Purina. After that pole was repaired, the winds that passed through the area that night caused some of the lines to blow into each other and resulted in our largest weather-related outage of the year. About 1,800 customers were affected, and we lost about 223,000 customer minutes. Then again, trees. We've talked a lot about trees the last few board meetings. A lot of our momentary outages are caused by trees. As you can see, in 2023, we had an average year, I guess I would say, when it comes to tree-related breaker operations and lost customer minutes. We had a pretty good year in 2022, 2023. We were average again. But we have been trending down when you look at this graph beyond 2017. So what do? First, like I said, we've talked a lot about tree trimming in the last meetings, but we also continue underground conversions in our neighborhoods where we can. Unfortunately, due to supply chain issues, we have suspended our underground conversion projects in 2023 because of the shortage of single-phase pad mount transformers. Just an update on that. We just placed an order just so we can kind of keep our heads above water and have a few spares. The price has gone from about $2,000 per transformer to almost $10,000, and the delivery time is 60 weeks. So we're hoping that trend reverses. There's a lot of activity going on with APPA lobbying the EPA, because one of the big issues right now is the EPA has new standards in place for transformers, and as that is being debated, it's causing these supply chain issues actually to worsen when it comes to transformers. Another thing we do, we install animal guards in our substations and our distribution lines. This improves reliability, but also can prevent costly damage. And you're probably saying, well, why don't you have animal guards on everything? Well, there's not a perfect fit, because you put an animal guard on a component, a bushing or something, and it may stop the squirrels, but then these are perfect homes for mice and birds, and then you have an overheating issue, and then you have a fire. So you're always battling one thing or another. So we do this, but we also have to monitor these. And so we typically use the kind that have the little holes in them so you can see inside to make sure nests aren't being built. And finally, a big thank you to Dave Stevens. He's our system planning engineer, and Steve Glover, our system operator, for their efforts to track all of this and record all of this data that we use to improve our system and report our reliability, which, like I mentioned at the beginning, is important, especially for economic development. I'd entertain any questions that you might have.
No questions.
If not, one quick reminder, next week is the IMPA 101 workshop.
Yep.
If anyone is interested, catch me after the meeting and I'll make sure and get you registered. It's a good workshop. It talks about what IMPA does. You probably get a lot of questions about solar panels in the community. They'll talk extensively about that and how that benefits communities and more. And that's all I have for this evening, unless there are other questions.
I'd like to.
Anybody have any other questions? Okay. We have any new business? I think we've about talked about everything. So
Move for adjournment.
Second.
we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.